Friday the 7th of November, 9:31 p.m. Hours later, it seems that way. The leader comes back into the room. The others follow. I can tell immediately from their body language that the giant is extremely annoyed. His body is rigid with anger, hands clenched into tight fists. "This is crazy," he says, pacing backwards and forwards. "This will go badly wrong. You're making a huge mistake, sir." "I said no names," the leader thunders. "How many more times do I need to remind you?" She sounds like she wants to tear him apart limb by limb. Mum and I watch in silence, pressed as close to each other as we can get. We're all in this together, so quit complaining. There is silence for a few seconds, and I wait with interest to see if the giant will argue with her. But he doesn't. "We'd better sort out a rota for the work in the attic," the leader continues. "We'll need to change our plans, as 2 of us will have to be on guard and duty down here all the time." "Everything's going to take twice as long then," loud woman mutters, flashing a resentful stare at Mum and me. "Maybe we won't even finish by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then it'll be a huge waste of time." 10 o'clock tomorrow morning? What's going to happen at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning? What? The leader is glaring at the loud woman, and I can see the dark anger in her eyes. "Let's not give everything away, shall we?" she suggests in a soft, lightly menacing tone. "We'll get it done, don't you worry." "I'll fetch our rucksacks from the attic," says the quiet man, heading for the door. The leader nods at loud woman. "You help him." For a moment I think she'll refuse, but then she slouches out of the room behind quiet man. I can tell she's sulking. The leader murmurs something to the giant and then comes over to the sofa. Mum instinctively shrinks back, but I force myself not to look her straight in the eyes, trying to read what's behind them. "Here's the thing," the leader says calmly. "We thought this house was empty, but it isn't. And we've decided to go ahead anyway and carry through what we came here to do." "What's that?" I ask boldly, suddenly finding my tongue, but knowing she's not going to answer. Alongside the fear, I'm starting to feel deep anger at the way these intruders have barged into our lives, and that gives me just a tiny bit of courage. "We'll be staying here tonight," the leader goes on. "We're taking over the large attic at the top of your house, but tomorrow morning, when we've done what we came here to do, we will be gone." She emphasises the words, speaking slowly and forcefully, and stares hard at us. "I promise you. We shall leave in the morning. Keep quiet, don't make a fuss, don't try to escape, and do exactly as you're told. Nothing will happen to you." Mum is too terrified to speak. She simply nods. "All right," I say, but I don't believe her. How can I rely on the word of someone who's forced their way into the house and is holding us hostage? It's madness. Escape is our only option. If we get a chance before 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, I will grab it with both hands. "I need to make some calls," the leader tells the giant. She steps out into the hall and half closes the door so we can't hear what she's saying. I guess that she's calling Ethan, whoever he is, and the shadowy others. "What happened to you?" the giant asks abruptly out of the blue. His words jolt me out of my thoughts, but he isn't speaking to me. He's staring at Mum. Mum looks stricken and seems unable to reply. She opens her mouth, but no words come out. "Like I said, my mum was in a car accident years ago when I was a baby," I reply, a bit sharply, knowing that he's only asking, but he's trying to find out if Mum is fit enough to try it and escape or not. But strangely, the giant seems interested in the details. "Pretty serious leg injuries, aren't they, huh?" he says thoughtfully. "Did you fracture a femur by any chance?" "Both of them," Mum replies faintly, obviously wishing he would stop asking questions. She hates talking about the accident, and I've learned never to mention it. Mum says it's too upsetting to think about the past, about what might have been. Must have been complications if you're still using sticks after all this time. Mum nods eagerly. Almost all the bones in my legs were crushed and splintered. The giant's eyes turned to me. But as I'm wondering why he's so keen to know about Mum's injuries, I mean, he can't be a doctor, can he? Can he? So you're her carer, he says to me. Her what? Her carer, the giant snaps impatiently. You are a young carer, aren't you? I don't know what you're talking about, I replied, bewildered. I look after my mum, that's all. No more is said because the leader comes back into the room and then, but I cannot get the idea out of my head, and the giant is some kind of medical person. A doctor or nurse, maybe a paramedic. But what would someone like that be doing in a situation like this? I can't believe it. And yet, with a flash of inspiration, I realise that this is exactly what I should be doing. I need to start fighting past my own fears in order to find out everything I can about these intruders. Then I can pass it on to the police when we escape. Even if the 4 of them manage to get away with whatever they're up to without being caught, my information will help the police to arrest them. I've read books about people being kidnapped or taken hostage, and I know I have to stay calm and cooperate with these intruders, whatever happens. I have to build some kind of bond. I never thought all those detective stories would be so useful in real life. These decisions give me something to focus on, something to do instead of simply sitting here being a victim. It gives me new hope. I'm feeling calmer. My heart isn't racing quite so fast. I take Mum's hand and squeeze it, and she squeezes it back. We'll get through this. Just wait and see. I hear the upstairs toilet flushing and then footsteps on the stairs. Loud woman and quiet man reappear carrying 4 rucksacks. Aren't you even going to tell us your names? I ask, suddenly. I know they won't, but I have to start somewhere. There's a startled silence, and I feel a stab of satisfaction that, for once, I've wrong-footed them. I'm Angela Ray, but everyone calls me Annie. I press on. And my mum is Jamila. Stop it! Loud woman throws the rucksacks on the floor and surges forward, frustration pouring out of her. It's in her voice, her eyes, and every movement of her body. Mum grips my hand again painfully, and I can hear her panicky breathing close to my ear. Of course we're not going to tell you our names, you annoying little... The leader steps neatly between us, grabbing Loud Woman's shoulder and spinning her roughly out of the way. I agree, we should have names, she says coolly. We may as well be civilized about this, and it'll remind us not to use our real ones. She gives her accomplices a sharp look. After a moment she points to the giant. He's King. She swivels towards Quiet Man. He's Jack. Then returns to Loud Woman, who's now opening her rucksack, pulling furiously at the straps as if she's strangling someone to death. You can call her Queenie, and I'm Ace. Every moment I'm learning something new about them and how they behave with each other. King the giant is nervous and twitchy and full of doom. I guess he's one of those people who always thinks the glass is half empty, not full. The other man, Jack, isn't like that. He's quiet and thoughtful and does what Ace says without complaining. I guess that outside this they're close friends. Queenie, Loud Woman, suits her better, is teetering dangerously on the edge. She could blow her top at any moment, and I don't want to be around when she does. Mum's room is large, but now it feels like there are too many people in here. I watch as the 4 of them unpack their rucksacks. Queenie pulls a phone from her pocket. She has a Samsung. I can see the name from here. The phone cover is bright purple leather. Right on cue, as people always do when they see someone else checking their messages, King and Jack take out their phones too. They both have iPhones, I note. King's looks new, the latest model. Jack's is older, more battered. Put your phones away, Ace snaps. Phone signals can be traced and phone records can be used against us. She's already realised, like me, that everything they do, everything they say, Even their body language is giving us clues to who they are. She's clever. That's why she's their leader. I've had a text from Ethan, says King. Oh yes, Ethan, the idiot who told us the house was empty. He can come and help if we need him. Jay and Martha too. I just managed to stop myself yelling, No! How many of these people are there? 3 more invaders, 3 more people crowding me out of my own home, and 3 more pairs of eyes in hidden faces watching my every move. But to my relief, I see Ace shaking her head. Tell him no, she replies. We'll get it done. But, King begins. The more people here, the higher risk of getting caught. And please stop using names, Ace snaps. If the atmosphere was tense before, it just got 1,000 times worse. They unpacked the rucksacks. They brought supermarket sandwiches, fizzy drinks, packets of crisps and chocolate bars. I notice a piece of paper fall to the floor as Jack empties out his rucksack. It's a till receipt, and I can see the name of the shop at the top, printed in blue and green. I know he bought the food at Asda. Ace spots the receipt and pounces on it, shoving it in her pocket. She flashes a glance at me and catches me looking, but it's too late. I've already seen it. Queenie picks up one of the packs of sandwiches, sighs loudly and pokes Jack in the shoulder. Tuna, she moans. I told you I hate fish, and she doesn't eat it either, idiot. She points at Ace. I knew you shouldn't have been in charge of buying the food. Guys, there's a sharp edge to Ace's voice. Mind what you say, please. What's the problem? Queenie rounds on her aggressively. I'm only talking about tuna fish, for God's sake. Ace squares up to her, and I see Queenie shrink back just a little. She turns and stares suspiciously at me and Mum. I show her my bland and supremely normal expression, the one I've perfected for Miss Hardy and all my other teachers over the years. Queenie lowers her voice, but I can still just about catch what she says. The mother looks too petrified to remember her own name right now. Ace's eyes flick over to me. I wasn't thinking about the mother. She doesn't even attempt to whisper. But she's only a kid, Queenie splutters. Maybe, is all Ace replies. I feel a flicker of unease, but that will never stop me. Fired up and alert now, I start wondering if I can somehow get an SOS message out of the house. After all, the area around our house is crawling with police at the moment. The realization hits me then, like someone just slapped my face. The shock actually makes me jerk my head back in horror. The Prime Minister is visiting our town tomorrow morning. His car is passing near our house on the way to the hospital. Ace, King, Jack and Queenie are here because something is going to happen at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Are these 2 events connected? If so, how? I'm terrified because I don't know the answer. I can only guess.